If something expanded in your life or your business and your nervous system doesn't celebrate, it shuts down. Hey squirrels, welcome to ADHD, where ADHD isn't some clinical diagnosis, it's just life. I'm AV, your always honest tour guide through this beautiful mess. Over here, we're not about fixing yourself. We're about figuring out how to actually enjoy your life as you are. So grab a snack and let's go. Welcome back, squirrels, to another episode of ADHD. I am so happy to see you. You look beautiful. You really are radiant. I don't know if anyone's told you that lately. I am babbling because I don't want to talk about any of this. This is something that took me my entire life to learn, and I'm excited to share it. And I also feel like a bit of a fraud because although I know what I'm about to talk about, it still is so hard to apply in the moment. So, you and me together, we got this. We can do this. Thank you so much for holding space for me in my moment of vulnerability. I appreciate you. Let's just jump in. We are speaking about resilience. We're continuing to talk about resilience, okay? Let's talk about when things technically worked. Yeah? Something technically worked, but you actually feel worse now. You hit a milestone, right? You hit a launch, or you landed a new client, or you hit a specific revenue number, or you onboarded a team, or something that you've been striving for happened. And instead of relief, you feel fucking exhausted. If something expanded in your life or your business and your nervous system doesn't celebrate, it shuts down. I just had a baby. I should be happy. I just landed my biggest client so far. I just launched my first course. I've been working towards this thing. I should feel happy. And you just feel tired. This is for you. This episode is for you. You don't need to take notes. As always, you don't need to fix anything while you're listening. You don't need to fix anything at all. You don't need to reframe your experience into something inspiring by the end of this episode. We're just going to name what might be happening. And I want to be clear about why I'm starting there, because collapse after expansion is one of the most confusing experiences a founder can have. And confusion, when we don't have the right language to assign to it, becomes shame. So today we're going to give it that language. But before we go anywhere, I want to tell you something important. It's not a motivational episode. A lot of you know my opinion on motivation. I think it's a bullshit scam. Motivation is sold to us as this like magical, I don't even know what it is. Is it a feeling? Is it an elixir? Is it like something that bubbles up inside you that just like makes you be able to do? I don't know what it is. But what I do know is it's a freaking scam. I'm not going to tell you how to get your mojo back or get your momentum back. I'm not going to give you a framework that you need to implement this week. What I am going to do is help you understand what actually happened, and if it's happening to you right now, what is actually happening. Because if you can understand it, you can really understand it, not intellectually, but in your body, in yourself, in your spirit, the shame dissipates. It starts to lift. And that's where the real recovery piece begins. All right. So I'm not about to call you out at all. I am about to explain some stuff to you about yourself that you've probably been judging yourself really, really harshly for. Okay, so let's talk about why burnout sometimes comes after things go right. Okay, and I'm talking about in business, of course, but like I said earlier, if you have a child, you're supposed to be so happy. That's what we're told. Yeah, moms. And if you're not happy all the time, you feel like a failure as a mom. Sometimes everything is going right. Everything is moving the way it should. I'm using so many air quotes. So if you're listening to me, I hope you hear the air quotes. But I do want to be careful here because I don't want to flatten this. Yeah. Burnout doesn't only happen after success. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't only happen when things are going right. It happens during prolonged strain instability and survival mode. So it's possible that this is the moment that you're pausing because something has gone right at this point, and you're like, see, it happened. I should be good now. But you got to go through the thing to get to the thing. If you've been in a hard season, whether it's financially or relationally or operationally, then your system, your nervous system, your body system, yourself is absorbing that all. And that's real too. If you just got fired from your job and you are burnt out, that doesn't feel like success in the moment. I understand. What a burnout always is a forced reset. Whether you are at a point of success and you feel burnt out, or whether you're at a point that doesn't feel like success, it feels like a very difficult season, and you feel burnt out, you've been carrying too much by yourself for too long. But there is this specific pattern that I see a lot, especially with founders and high capacity people, because I that's who I work with. I work with high capacity, complex thinking people. And it's one that doesn't get talked about enough. Okay? Something grows, and that's good. Responsibility increases or visibility increases, decision load increases. And the system that carried you through the building phase was never redesigned to carry what you built. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let me make that a little bit more concrete. When your business grows, here's what actually increases: the number of decisions you make per day increases, the number of people that depend on you, the emotional weight of those dependencies, especially if you have employees who have families, who are primary breadwinners. The stakes that are attached to each mistake grow. Your responsibility for all of that grows. The margin for error shrinks. Visibility increases, which introduces its own kind of pressure. You need to be more careful about how you talk and the way you present yourself, and everything that you say and do can have tremendous consequences and repercussions on other people. And founders, good founders who care about their businesses and who care about their people, take that very, 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 very seriously. The people that I work with take that responsibility very seriously. But what most founders don't add at the same rate as all of that pressure and all of that responsibility is increasing, they're not adding in buffers. They're not adding in delegation or recovery cycles or rest time or decision making support or emotional offloading. They're literally just working harder. So you have a system that's now carrying significantly more weight, and it was never structurally rebuilt to hold that weight. Okay, so for my gamers in the audience, I'm not a gamer and I don't know what I'm talking about, but your computer has RAM, yeah? And if you have like a regular old laptop with 4 gigs of RAM, that's not going to be sufficient when you want to use your laptop as a gaming system. So you're going to put the games on the system and you're going to try and use what you have to play the games. And the game is going to break, like you're going to be able to play it and then the computer is going to shut down. It's going to reboot itself and you're the same as a person. You are basically a computer. Congratulations. But seriously, you have the same type of capacity. Your RAM is the random access memory. It's the stuff that's open all the time. It's the loops that are open. If the system can't handle the load, the system will crash. It literally really is that simple. Because this is not a mindset failure. It's not like a value judgment. You're not a bad person. It's an engineering problem. The World Health Organization classifies burnout as an occupational phenomenon, which meaning that it's a syndrome that results from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. Notice what the definition doesn't say. It doesn't say that burnout is caused because you're a weak person who can't handle things. It doesn't say that burnout is caused by not wanting something badly enough or by not trying hard enough. It says chronic stress that wasn't successfully managed. There's many factors that impact whether your stress is chronic, how much stress there is, and whether it's successfully managed. And for founders, especially neurodivergent founders, the management piece almost always breaks down because, first of all, as neurodivergent people, we're not great at that management piece. It requires a consistency button that we don't really possess. And Also, the system was built for building, not for sustaining what was built. If you are a neurodivergent founder, you are likely an ideator. That's where your strength is. So when you try to shift from ideating into sustaining, into implementing, you get bored, you lose interest. Your system is just not really designed for that at all. And also, you don't have the practice of managing and clearing out the stress. Okay. But let's talk about another layer that doesn't get talked about enough. When you become more visible, meaning more responsible or more central to outcomes, your nervous system registers that as risk. And your nervous system is not sophisticated enough to distinguish between I am risking harm and I am risking disappointing someone. To your body, it registers super similarly. So even in seasons of positive growth, your system is carrying this performance pressure and this like fear of loss, of losing what you've built, of losing what you know, of losing people's trust. And then there's a fear of disappointing others. There's a fear of being exposed as somebody who doesn't actually have it all together. Like, I only have it together to the extent that I have it together. Sorry to let you know, but actually, I only know as much as I know. And tomorrow, hopefully, I'll know more and I can do better. But for right now, I don't want you to know that I don't know what I think that I should know, you know? Even when you're growing positively, your system is carrying cognitive load and emotional load simultaneously. And if you didn't deliberately add in buffers or delegation or recovery cycles, then expansion happened without protection, meaning all you did was pile more and more and more and more onto your own personal plate and expect yourself to be fine, which I'm sorry, but when I say it like that, sounds fucking stupid. You're literally at a buffet piling food onto the plate, and then you start walking and food starts falling off of your plate and you're like, "Oh my god, I'm so dumb. I can't balance anything." What? That literally doesn't even make sense. Like, what are you even talking about? You put too much on your plate. That's all. So you need to put less on your plate or you need more plates. And if you have more plates, then you need more hands to carry them. It's not complicated. What is weird is that we add in the element of a value judgment when it's just like, how much load? How much space do I have to carry it? Make sure I have enough space to carry the load. Research on allostatic load. Allostatic load is the cumulative wear on the body from stress. So it's a fairly new concept, like the last 30-ish years, but it's like the stress that builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. That's allostatic load. It shows that repeated stress exposure doesn't just tire us out temporarily. It literally changes how our cognitive systems function. We become slower decision makers. Our cognitive system has heightened threat detection. Like, we're always like, what's going on? What's happening? Heightened threat detection and lower frustration tolerance. So by the time you're burnt out, by the time you're feeling the burnout, meaning the allostatic load is high enough, your brain has already been reorganizing itself around survival for longer than you could have ever realized. But you didn't fail. Your system was never built for what happened to it. And that's not a character assessment, that's a systems diagnosis. Should it have been built for it? Should you have known better? I don't know. It's not relevant, really, honestly. Like, you are where you are. You're great. You've done what you've done. You haven't done what you haven't done. Like, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. But what I do know is that if we remove the value judgment from it and we focus exclusively on the system piece of it, then you're in pretty good shape. All you got to do is shift a little bit. And that's no problem. You know how to shift. You're a very adaptable person. Okay. One of the loudest thoughts in this particular phase is that I should be fine by now. And as my dear, dear guest, Judith, said a couple weeks ago, we need to stop shitting all over ourselves. And I want to spend some time here because this thought really does real damage. It feels logical. Yeah. It feels like accountability, and that's the trap. It feels like you're being honest with yourself, but it's actually a nervous system response and not a rational assessment. Okay. Here's what's happening underneath all of that. When your system feels unstable, your brain looks for things that it can control. And self criticism is one of the ways that it tries to create that control. So the logic, which is unconscious but real, goes like this: if it's my fault, I can fix it. If I can fix it, I have agency. If I have agency, I'm safer. Self blame, paradoxically, feels like safety when your system is dysregulated. But here's the problem: self blame is a threat response, and threat increases arousal, and increased arousal reduces cognitive and emotional capacity. And as founders, we need access to the full range of our cognitive and emotional capacity. So the very thing you're doing to try to get yourself back on track is actively making your recovery harder. Sorry, but it is. Compassion focused psychology is super, super consistent on this. The research is consistent across the board. Shame and self criticism keep the nervous system in a threat state, and you cannot recover in a threat state. Recovery requires safety, and self attack removes safety. So if you are attacking yourself, you cannot recover. This is not an invitation to skirt accountability. It's an invitation to understand when accountability is useful, which is not when you're in the middle of a nervous system response. It's literally the same thing as when you are freaking out over spilling the milk or whatever, and your parent says, "Why did you do that?" The why is an invitation to take accountability, but it isn't really. It's a blame, which is a threat response. And what is the child's response when they're being blamed in the I don't, I didn't, I I didn't do. You like freak out and glitch all over the place. This is not the time to take accountability. We take a deep breath. Everything is fine. Nothing's wrong. We're going to clean it up. And then once we're cleaning it up, there's 100% room and opportunity to say, "Hey, what made you spill the milk? I'm not blaming you. I'm just wondering if there's a way that I can help you in the future. Was it too heavy, maybe?" And then you can start talking about what the problem is and like finding a solution for the future and blah, blah, blah. That's where the accountability piece comes in. But not when you're in the middle of the thing. Okay. And then there's the comparison piece. Other people are fine. Other people handle this. They're like, they can do it. That thought feels like data. It is not data. It doesn't hit a singular threshold of being actual data. That's, it's a lie presenting itself as a fact. It's comparison under stress. Stress narrows your perspective neurologically in a measurable way. It doesn't give you an accurate view of other people's capacity, and it doesn't give you an accurate view of your own capacity. So you're never seeing data clearly from inside a survival state, and that matters, right? Like, yeah, but you can handle it. I mean, it depends on what your definition of handle it means, right? But those comparisons, those external comparisons, especially when you're inside a survival state, is just it's not true. It's not accurate. So, guys, I just need a second. I don't like calling myself out on my own podcast, but this is part of what we do here. So it's time for me to name something that I think gets in the way of recovery more than almost anything else. And that is the belief that recovery means returning to where you were before. When we talk about bouncing back, okay, let me take one of my most favorite things to rant about. Shout out to my dear friend Esther Taub. Bouncing back to your baby body, your pre-baby body, bouncing back after pregnancy. Literally shut up. Because what we think that means is going back to the way your body was before. Well, let me tell you something. Your body before had not gone through creating, growing, and housing a human for months and months on end inside yourself. You grew a human, birthed that human into the world from your body into the world. So the idea that anything could ever go back to the way it was is ridiculous. Here too, believing that recovery means returning to where you were before, it doesn't. And that belief that you're only recovered when you're back at full capacity is one of the reasons that people stay stuck in shame loops far longer than they need to. Recovery in this phase is not bouncing back because what you bouncing back assumes that you're going back to something that you should be going back to. But if you bounce back to the thing that led you to burnout in the first place, then all you have is the perfect recipe for more burnout, obviously. Like burnout research is clear, and also like common sense is clear that returning to the same environment, the same structure, the same system without changing anything will almost always lead to repeat burnout. Because rest restores energy if you're resting properly. But rest alone does not redesign the system that depleted the energy in the first place. You can pause the leak temporarily, but if you don't find and address the leak, it's going to keep leaking, right? You feel like, right? Because that's what happens. Let me know if that doesn't make sense. If it feels logical. Real recovery in this phase looks like asking yourself, what changed in my life or work that my system never got support for? What was working before that doesn't work now? What changed to make that happen? Not how do I push through this? Not how do I get motivated again? Pushing through this is not the way. It's the way back exactly to the same path that you were on. And we already know that I think motivation is bullshit. But you ask yourself what structurally shifted and what protection did I not add alongside it? Okay? So that might look like reducing decision density. Like you have more decisions that you need to make now. So therefore, you have to reduce your decision density, which means that you have fewer open loops and fewer things that are waiting for your attention. Delegate decision making as much as possible, because if decision increases, then the amount of decisions that you specifically need to make needs to decrease. You see how math is math? It might look like narrowing your active commitments, not abandoning stuff, but being honest in your scope reduction. What can you handle and what can't you handle? You won't be able to say yes to everything anymore. That protection might look like extending timelines, because artificial urgency is one of the fastest ways to re-trigger collapse. Unless you're a brain surgeon, chill out on the deadlines. It might mean delegating earlier than feels comfortable for you, because normally you probably delegate when you're already underwater, but maybe you need to delegate before. Maybe you need to reassess your capacity, your actual capacity, not your ideal capacity and not your pre-burnout capacity and not your pre-children capacity and not your pre-perimenopause capacity and none of that, but your current, honest, real capacity. And then removing artificial urgency from things that can wait. Because, like, we are stuck in this urgent, like, everything needs to be now, 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 now. And all of that urgency is manufactured, it's artificial. And these things can wait. Like I tell my team all the time, we're literally not brain surgeons. But sometimes recovery looks like grief. You have grown to a point that you can't sustain yourself anymore. Because sometimes in this process, you realize that you build something that your current system cannot sustainably hold, which means that the system has to grow. And you're like, my God, I thought I was there. Like, it's devastating. But more importantly, it's data. It's not evidence that you failed. It's just evidence. It's evidence that you built something real. And now you have more information about what it actually requires. You can build the system, you can expand, you can do what you need to do to grow to the next stage. And then maybe you'll have this same experience again. And then the next stage and again. But you deserve to work within your capacity and you deserve to recover fully when you need to. All right. So I want to pause here and give you a moment that's actually for you. Not for you to analyze anything for my analytical thinkers, not even to write anything down. Like there's no assignment here, just to notice with curiosity. Ask yourself quietly, what increased in my life recently? Did your responsibility increase or your visibility? Expectations from others, from yourself, complexity, the number of people relying on you, maybe. Take a moment and really let yourself see what grew. Let yourself see what has changed in your life. Now ask yourself, what did I not increase alongside it? Did I increase the support, the buffers, the recovery time? Did I build in like protection from exposure? Do I have more people to absorb the load with me? As my load increased, did my support increase? If there's an imbalance there, and usually there is an imbalance, that's not a moral failing, that's information. And information is something you can actually work with, right? Like once you identify that spot, that imbalance is usually where the collapse was waiting. Not because you weren't capable, but because no one told you that growth without protection is a structural problem, not a personal one. We see the grind, we see people tell us what it takes after they're already successful, but their success, their external metrics and measures of success came at a tremendous personal cost. Did they get there with a regulated nervous system or did they get there through complete and total grind culture that's unsustainable? Growth without protection is a structural problem. It's a business challenge. It's not a personal problem. And if you can't do it on your own, cool. Go find the resources and the people that can help you. Okay. If this is the phase that you are in right now, I need you to hear me like so clearly. You didn't collapse because you're incapable. You're exhausted. You're burnt out. You collapsed because the demand expanded faster than protection. You carried more than you could by yourself for too long. That's it. That's all what that burnout is. It's a systems issue, not a character flaw. Like you are a computer and you have a certain amount of RAM. That's the amount of RAM that you have. If you try to implement a gaming system on your computer that has 4 gigs of RAM, it's going to crash the system. Is that like, does that make the computer stupid or the game stupid? Or maybe the game is too heavy. No, it's a systems issue. The system doesn't have the capacity to hold the RAM required for this particular game to work. You've grown. Your game is very complex. We just need to upgrade the system. And here's what I really want you to understand about that distinction. It matters because the solution changes completely depending on which one it is, right? Because if it's a character flaw, if your collapse is a character flaw, then you need to become a whole different person. That's a long, painful road. If it's a systems issue, then you need different structure. That's actually solvable pretty quickly. You didn't fail. Your system wasn't designed for what happened. That doesn't mean that you weren't ready. It's just that the growth happens in your mind first, and then your systems get built to support it. You can't build systems to support growth that hasn't happened yet. It just is what it is. Be kind to yourself. If the system wasn't designed for what happened, then that means the path forward isn't about becoming someone who can handle more. It's about building something that doesn't ask you to handle more. If we're expanding responsibility, we're expanding support. It's just literal math. This is what I mean when I say resilience isn't endurance. Resilience is recovery capacity. How quickly can I recover from this? Quickly and effectively. It's not about how long you can hold on. It's about how supported you are in the actual holding. And support, structural, operational, relational support, is not a luxury for people who have figured it out. Everybody should have that support. It's the thing that makes recovery possible at all. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. If this episode helped you feel less confused or less alone or just like a little more like what's happening to you and what you're feeling has a name, we have a free capacity recovery map that you can explore when you're ready. It is not a productivity tool and it's not a checklist at all. It's a clarity tool to help you see what your personal system, your life system can actually hold right now without judgment, without pressure, and for sure without shame. So it's there for y'all in the links if you want it. Only if it feels supportive. As always, there's no pressure. Squirrels, whether you are at a point where it feels like you should be celebrating success or whether you're at a point where it feels like you're at a low or whether you're somewhere in between, or whether you are super successful, but you just aren't feeling it as deeply as you might want to, take the time to map your capacity. So we have a tendency to disregard all of the effort and all of the work and all of the stuff that we're doing simply because it's easy for us. Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's not difficult on your system, right? Like, if you can produce 4 hours worth of work in 1 hour, maybe that means that your 1 hour consumes as much energy as someone else's 4 hours. I'm just gonna leave that there and wish y'all a beautiful, beautiful week. I will see you next week to talk more about this bullshit and how we can be more resilient more sustainably throughout our lives. In the meantime, I love you. Bye.